Looking to increase pressure on the capital of Kyiv. Now, thousands of refugees have been streaming into neighbouring Poland, and civilians, this including NGOs, have been providing aid. And now, government has been called in to step in. Our senior reporter, Siphamandla Goge, is in Warsaw this morning and joins us live for that update. Siphamandla, good morning to you from this side of the world. Just yesterday, when we had a conversation, thousands were streaming in, queuing, of course, crossing into Poland. Where does that number stand from today?
Well, we are actually at the medical land border between the Ukraine and Poland. It's one of the busiest borders that is being used by those who are crossing over to Poland from the Ukraine. You know, it never stops. Just moments ago, I had a very brief conversation with one of the people who has just crossed. She was telling me that she doesn't know when she will be able to go back home. She came here with her daughter, leaving behind her male relatives because they have to stay behind and fight. In terms of the statistics, we understand from the Polish authorities that at least 1.7 million people now are said to have crossed over to Poland. In total, the United Nations has estimated that more than 2.7 million people have fled the Ukraine. Others have gone to other neighboring countries, but Poland is a country that is deemed to be with a hope, with a big heart, open arms, welcoming many of the people that are leaving the Ukraine. And Polish authorities are concerned that moving forward in the near future, they may not be able to cope with the influx of people because the country is said to have welcomed more than 1.7 million people as we speak. And this land border is one of the busiest land borders. What happens is they come in groups. Right now you will see shortly, if you will be still with us, Joko Mane will show you as soon as the next group gets closer to the gate, because they are being processed on the other side. We understand that the queues are longer on the other side, which is the Ukrainian side. By the time they come here towards the Polish border, it's relatively easier. They would have been processed and they would be welcomed by volunteers who will be offering children sweets, and then those who need coffee and tea. Mostly those who arrive here are women and children, because men and boys, from 18 to 60 years old are not allowed to leave the country. They need to remain behind to fight. It's been described as one of the growing humanitarian crises in the globe in terms of the number of people that continue to leave the Ukraine. And you will see the group that is coming now, mainly dominated by women and children. Livelihoods have been destroyed. Some people have lost their loved ones and relatives back home, in terms of those who have been killed back in the Ukraine. Yesterday I interviewed one lady who told me that, well, she knows of her friend who has lost her loved ones, and that is how dire the situation is here. Some people come to the border with special needs. Remember, they are fleeing their country. It's being ravaged by war, and when they arrive here they need medical help and medical attention, because most of them would have just taken up only one suitcase and then pick up whatever they can and then leave, come here to Poland, to try and flee. That was, you can see from these visuals that Joko Mane is showing you, women and children being assisted by the Polish army here, soldiers helping them in carrying their suitcases. In terms of the statistics, Poland has welcomed about 1.7 million people. Slovakia is said to have welcomed about 204,000, and then Hungary also featuring there with 225,000, 291. There is Belarus as well, Romania, Moldova, and other European countries have welcomed in total about 304,000 refugees. So those are the statistics that have been issued by the United Nations, and the estimates of people who have fled the Ukraine since this war started. And Polish authorities are really concerned that it will not stop anytime soon. More and more people will be arriving. We are told by authorities that the population of Warsaw, the capital city of Poland, is said to have increased by 11% since this war started, because more and more people are making their way to the capital city. They are occupying public places such as train stations and other open spaces that they can find, and authorities are saying they are fast running out of spaces to accommodate them.
And just speaking of the assistance needed now, we know that even though there are civilians and NGOs, Siphamandla, currently assisting where they can, showing us that example of some of them giving young children sweets there, we still understand that the government is still called on to do more, to step in. Now, what do you think is of need at this point? Yesterday you were telling us in Medika that things such as food and medical supplies were a need from where you were, but from where you stand this morning, what's of urgency to those who are flocking into Warsaw?
I guess it hasn't changed really. It depends on the circumstances of people arriving here, but most of them will tell you that they need accommodation, shelter. That's the first thing they need. Remember, you are arriving here, as Joe will show you now. Look at this, people arriving here. They've just crossed the border, they've got their suitcases, they don't know where they are going from here, and they don't know where they will sleep. Hello, how are you? Yeah, in Ukrainian it's fine. Maybe my friend can translate here. How was your journey? How are you feeling?
У нас война, war. Бежим от родных.
We have all Ukraine, we're fleeing now.
Оставили папу, маму, бабушку, собаку и спасаем детей.
Where are you going to sleep tonight?
Где вы идете спать?
Сегодня еще не знаем, сейчас пойдем.
We don't know yet where we're going to sleep.
Едем в Варшаву и там должны нас.
We are going to Warsaw now and then we'll figure out what to do next.
You say you left your father, your husband and your sons. Are they fighting back home?
Вы оставили там мужа, ребенка?
Нет, дети со мной. Дети со мной, да, муж и мама. Нет, не воюет, но пока, дай бог, чтобы не воевал. Пока у нас там, откуда мы поехали, пока еще боевых таких действий нету.
Откуда?
Полтава.
She's from Poltava and her husband is not fighting yet, but soon it will, I think, happen. She left her mother as well there.
Постоянные тревоги и постоянно мы в подвалах спали, холодных подвалах, так что.
They always get alarms from military.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. Basically, the lady is telling us that she left home and then she's been hearing sirens and alarms warning them that bombs are about to be dropped. She says from here they will take that long and cold journey to Warsaw, which is the capital city of Poland. She has just arrived with her children here. Some of the relatives are back home. And you were asking the question about what do they need the most. They need accommodation, they need transport, they need medical supplies, and most importantly though, they need to be connected in terms of getting cell phones and SIM cards so that they can call back home and update their loved ones that at least they were able to cross the border successfully. And stories of people crossing this border are very emotional and very depressing, as you will hear now from that news piece that has been put together by my colleague Jody Jacobs.